Been a minute. Hold on. How do I play the video? Where is it? There's lots of new things in here. All right, guys, welcome to another edition of Texans Unfiltered. We are blessed to be joined by Antonio Cromartie. David, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me today. I'm super excited to talk to you. I see a potential cornerback one.
Can move very well. Can play man-to-man very well.
I think that he is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
He does things that are so amazing, and the competitor in him is just special.
I'm excited, man, and I can't wait to get there. I think it does really fit my skill set.
All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of Texans Unfiltered, somewhat of a special edition. For those who may have missed me, I'm here. For those that didn't miss me, hit the unsubscribe button. I don't really care. It's my platform. I am joined tonight by Austin with one of the series of hosts that we're going to have. So, Austin, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? And all that good stuff.
Well, first things first, I appreciate you letting me come on, James. I've been watching you since you, I think, started up. So
wow,
it's awesome to be here. I really haven't had much time lately. So again, it's just a great time talking Texas with you guys. Y'all are an inspiration. Good job. Keep up the good work. Make sure to like and subscribe to these guys. But anyways, guys, my name is Austin Tucker. Some people might know me from Clutch City Sports. I did some Rockets coverage earlier in the season before we traded James Harden, and just really like the future of where that franchise is going. I think they have some assets and some young talent, moving forward. So I've always been a really big basketball lover as well. But I will admit I'm a little rusty on terms of the draft prospects this year. I could use a little catching up and stuff like that. But you guys can follow me at 0 Tucks Given, as you see on the screen, on Twitter. I don't have that big of a Twitter following quite yet. I don't work too hard on anything like that. But I probably will start putting out some Texans content under Clutch City Sports. As well. So it's just one word, guys. Clutch City Sports, one word. You should be able to find it. It's very small for now, but I'll get some time moving forward to, to really put some effort into it. Just been busy with work. So thanks for bearing with me on that.
Yeah. Work will do it. But that gold chain, chain,
you know what it is?
A little drippy, my guy.
For real.
My guy.
Gotta do it.
Yeah, no, I get it. All right. Well, lots to talk about, lots to get into. I guess first, why I was gone. I'll be doing this once a month. I'll be hosting a show till we get training camp going. Then I'll jump right back in the saddle. Just a lot of things. Work, I've really been crazy working. If you follow me on Instagram, I closed the largest deal at the company I work for in the history of it. So it was $5.6 million a year, about $28 million over 5 years. So I was really chasing a bag for a little bit there. And that bag came. So the bag is here. I feel a lot better. And honestly, just to cut back on some of this Texan stuff, right? Had to clear my head. Lots of negativity around the team. That's not who we are. I think also we had to kind of resurface and really kind of rediscuss who we are and what our platform is. So I think I got stuck into connections and contacts I made and wanting to know anything and everything that I could. And it became a thing where people were asking for it on a constant basis. And I don't want to search for that no more. So we will not be the breaking news. We will not be the breaking news pod. We will not be sharing insider stuff. I haven't talked to Pat yet. He's joining us on the stream, but I don't want to be associated with anything breaking news. I don't want to know anything you guys ask me. If I know, I'm not going to say anything. There's just too much. So I'm back. I'm clear. I feel good. I know the Texans are a mess. I know there's lots of different issues. But at the end of the day, I do think that there's still some stuff to talk about. We still have Deshaun Watson as of right now. I'll give you guys my thoughts on Deshaun since you guys have not heard that from me. But first, I guess let's get into it. Pat, you just don't show your face. You just do an avatar. Oh, hi. You laying in bed? You laying in bed? Were you thinking of me?
I got the 2-year-old in here trying to get her to go to sleep in a little bit.
You were thinking of me while you're laying there. It's fine. It's fine. So first things first, let's get to the Nick Means Business. I like it. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people are just, no matter what they do, it's not going to equate to anything for them. No matter what it is, there's a minister in the building There's an owner who has no idea what the hell he's doing. So many different things happening. A coach that's not going to be here long term. Just all these different things that are happening with it. But I like the cuts. Nick Martin, get your ass out of here. You're trash anyways. I've been on your ass for 3 years. Goodbye. Get out. Inconsistent. So I like that. Duke Johnson, a fan favorite, but not worth the amount of money that he's going to get paid. Totally makes sense. They said they want to bring him back. Makes total sense. I don't think he'll be back. I think some team will probably pay him a little bit more than what we're willing to pay, especially with the restructure that we saw today from David Johnson. I think for me, really, the question is, who's next, Austin? Like who else could be on the chopping block? I have a list. And I really think that this will be the path we go on. Again, no inside source. I don't know anything. I'm just a guy. But I have some names. Austin, do you think Nick's done making cuts?
I don't. I don't think so. And I don't think he should be done making cuts. I think we can probably all agree on that. But I don't think we're going to get much for BMAC. I can see him being cut. Unfortunately, I love the guy. I don't know if there's a way to kind of switch his position up, but I think he'd be next in the block if I had to guess. But to be honest, I haven't really given it much thought. I think Merciless really bites you in the ass, right, if you get rid of him at this point. So you guys probably know more than I do when it comes to that. So I like your thoughts, especially Pat.
Especially Pat. What do you mean, especially
honestly,
Pat?
I have no idea because I didn't even know they restructured David Johnson until James just said something. So,
Really?
I'm when you talk about disconnected and completely out of the loop, I didn't know for 3 days that they had hired Pep Hamilton. It just I have completely disconnected. Not talking to anybody. I mean, if I do talk to anybody, it's not even about trying to gain any insight or anything like that. So I like the idea that Nick Martin got cut. But as far as the next guy, I could see BMAC maybe. But that depends on what Lovey wants to do, right? Because, I mean, what if he's going to run a 4-3, then they're going to need that middle linebacker guy, and who do they really have that can fill that position as of right now unless they sign somebody else. So I think he would fit that role perfectly. But I don't know. I mean, Merciless, like you said, Austin, it's way too much dead cap to cut him. They would have to trade him, or he'd have to retire. So outside of that, I don't see anybody else that's really a significant savings that they can cut at this time, really.
Yeah, so I think I don't even know if it's about savings. I think it's more about culture and building the future. I think that this is a year that they can afford to take some hits, and so they probably will. They're not going to be competitive anyways. So I think there's going to be some names that people are shocked about. I think Whitney's one of them. I think Bradley Roby's one of them. And I also think BMAC is either traded or cut. That's just my thoughts. I think Witt has to be gone. There's no reason to have him on the squad. Roby, with everything that happened at the end of the season and his lack of interest in the team and competing, I think that's going to come back. I don't think Nick's going to deal with that BS. And then BMAC, it's just going to be hard. I just, especially if Tyrell Adams does get a deal, I think that's a waste of money for the team, especially given where we're at. You could draft another guy next year. I don't want us to sign Tyrell Adams, but rumors out there that they are going to sign him. But I like what Nick's doing. I think Nick's building. He's building towards the future. He understands the situation he's in, and at the end of the day, he's cutting guys that should have been cut. They should have never made it to their second contract, in my opinion. Nick Martin is the most inconsistent player on that entire offensive line, and that's saying a ton. So it kind of is what it is, but I like what Nick's doing. I like the path he's on. He's coming in. He means business. He's not taking any BS, and he's just doing what he's supposed to do. So I'm all for it. All right, let's get to you guys got anything else on that? I mean, I like the restructured DJ. Should we talk about that a little bit? I actually like it. I know it's still a little bit of a higher price tag than what people wanted. But they saved, I think it was $4.6 million or something like that. Austin, you got any thoughts?
I never thought I'd be saying it, but I actually love it too. I don't know the exact salary cap savings on it, but I thought we had to keep one of the guys, whether it was Duke or David. And didn't he average his highest yards per carry with us? I mean, even though it was because of the last two games of the season, But I just like the way he started running at the end. I mean, whatever the mental state of mind he had to go through and all the, I guess the sessions he had to, go through and all that stuff. Like whatever you have to do, you got to do it. It's tough being a competitor. So I can get down with that. I just like the pep in the step at the end of the season. I'm willing to give him another shot with a better O-line, maybe a new scheme. So I love it. I just don't know what the savings are exactly quite yet.
Yeah, I think with David, the mental health aspect, I think I can relate to more than anything. I think sometimes whether I'm not a football player, I'm not an athlete anymore, but like just the competitive aspect of your personality can overtake. What were you raising your eyebrows about, Pat? Because I said I'm not an athlete anymore. That's what I thought. Anyways, I think I totally forgot where I was going with that.
You say you could relate to it, but
yeah. So like I can relate to the understanding of like in my job, sales, high pressure, high performance. It's something that you have to do, and if you're not performing, you're not rewarded, you're not succeeding in life. And I think football and just athletics and general sports, you have to be competitive, and I think you have to take a mental break, and you have to be mentally prepared to understand what you're taking on. And so I can see how that equated to the football field. Some people laugh at it, but that's just kind of the world we live in. Mental health is a real thing, and I think it makes a ton of sense. So $6 million, I think with incentives is DJ's deal. Towards the end of the year, he looked good. I have no complaints, and then in the opening of the season, he looked good too. So against the Chiefs, he had that great run. So there's still some in the tank. I'm all for it. Pat, you got anything? All right.
I'm good. I'm good with the restructure. I think the guaranteed should have been a little bit less, obviously, than what it was. Can you be quiet? We're talking important stuff here. This is what I'm dealing with. So I think they could have maybe brought his number down, but keeping, especially with him being 29 going into the year next year, I'm going. So I don't know. Yeah. I think they're going to need to find another running back in the free agency in the draft. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just some guy that nobody's even thinking about, practice squad guy. I don't expect them to spend a lot of money on running back for this season. Lots of talks in the comments about Will Fuller. I don't think Will Fuller's back. I think there's already a report that Aaron Wilson put out. Reddit is a great place to get information outside of Twitter because Twitter can be super addicting. So I just cut off Twitter completely. Reddit is great because you can just see the news and then move past and go to Wall Street Bets and understand where you need to put your money. So, but Will Fuller gone. Yeah, I would expect him probably to go to Green Bay. I mean, they already called about him at the trade deadline. The price was a little too high. Green Bay makes a ton of sense. Him opposite of Devontae Adams would be an extremely interesting wide receiver package. And I love it. I don't see Will Fuller going to the Cardinals. I don't see Klein going to the Cardinals. We'll talk about the Cardinals in a little bit because I think JJ made a mistake, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Outside of that, I don't really know too much else. I'm not draft savvy yet. I haven't really dug into the draft. Also, we don't have a first and second round pick. So for me to dig into third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, that's really like a 8-hour day to really understand like who's going to be there. It's not like these top picks. So we'll get it more into the draft as we get closer, but there's always cap space, Sid. There's always cap space, no matter what. It's something you can manipulate and make happen. So anybody can make it work. All right, let's get to Deshaun Watson. I think that's what people are actually here for. All right, so Deshaun Watson, tons of issues. Yeah, I'm the guy that held the rally. Yeah, I'm the guy, all that other good stuff that you guys, I talked to Quincy. Cool. I don't talk to Quincy anymore, just so everybody knows. But yeah, let's start with the Texans organization. I think they're handling this the exact way that you should handle this, no matter what the outcome is. Trade them, not trade them, really doesn't matter. I think that the organization messed up. I do. You definitely don't tell an employee, let alone your best employee, that they're going to be a part of a process they're not a part of. I'm kind of out of the loop on some of the things that were said and haven't been said. I don't buy the report that he met with David Coley last Friday. It doesn't make any sense to me why he would meet with David Coley, considering the fact that they already knew that he was going. He already told Nick, or David told Nick. It doesn't make any sense for him to meet with David Coley, whether it be Zoom or in person. I don't buy it. Pat, you have a smirk if you want to put out a tweet about whether he did or didn't. That's fine.
I can tell you 100% that he did. So
okay, I still don't believe it. Okay. It just doesn't make it. It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense for him to meet with David Coley and tell him, "I just want to be traded." They already knew that. They already, out of respect. Respect for what? He hasn't even been there. He hasn't answered the phone. He hasn't answered the text messages. They're working with David. What does Deshaun need to do now? I don't know.
He knows Cully, and they had their little bit of time at the Pro Bowl or whatever it was. But they've got it's mutual respect, and that's just a respectful thing to do. Is at least give the guy the time of day to try to talk you into it or try to have his peace with you. But if you're stuck in your ways and he's stuck with his mindset that he doesn't want to be here, then it is what it is. But I think it was just a respect thing for Cully.
Either way, Coley's just a stand-in, so he's not the future. Deshaun Watson, I do think he is traded. I think he's traded on draft night, and if he's not traded on draft night, it's because we didn't get the package that we were looking for, and he's going to have to sit out for the year. But I do think that the Texans are doing everything they can. They're saying everything they can. Should he be a part of the future? Sure. But I think he's dug in way too deep at this point. I think David has him way too deep to be able to really pull out of this. I don't think this is a situation that can be corrected and Deshaun saves some face. I think Deshaun's got to go, to be honest with you. Austin, what are your thoughts on everything going on with Deshaun Watson?
It's really, really hard for me. Just like everybody else, obviously. But yeah, my gut tells me we got to get rid of him for his own benefit, right? But at what cost, right? So I just don't. I think if he were to stay, it would just get contaminated. He's not going to be like James Harden and do what James did, right? But I think it's just gonna tear him apart in the locker room apart. If he's got to deal with the pain and suffering staying in the locker room here. So, and knowing that we're not going to compete with or without him, it's just going to be a punch to the gut every damn game, every damn Sunday you go out there. So, I'd like to get if we can get 4 first rounders and 2 players. I think that's what the going rate is at this point. But who's going to bite? Who's going to bite that? So I don't see anybody doing it. I don't see anybody doing it right now. I think they're going to try to drag it on. Maybe try to get him after draft night for a discount, whatever it might be. But yeah, I don't see him staying here either. I love him.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love him. I mean, I think he's what you look for, right? Not just from like a talent perspective, but also from a personality perspective and who he is as a person, genuine, authentic. He's a leader. You want to keep those guys. Those aren't guys you ship off, and to trade them, it makes no sense. But Professor 782370005 makes a lot of sense. It really has a lot to do with the dead cap. $21.4 million in dead cap if traded. You can't, sure, this year is a wash. So if you're going to take a hit, you take it now. But I don't know. That's a hard pill to swallow. And no matter what the return is, it's still not going to be enough. Now to Deshaun. Do I think Deshaun's handling this right? I think it's really hard for me to not side with the player, especially Deshaun. But I do think that he's being a little bit prima donna to me. I understand that. I don't like the whole contract thing. I don't get into the contract aspect. I don't think that the contract is a reason for a player to stay. Any player in any sport that has the opportunity to add money to their bank account is going to take that opportunity. So I don't really see a reason to hold him to the contract. David put him in a position to sign the largest contract he could sign. He did it, and that's that. But I do think that the way he's handling the situation and the way David is trying to strong arm the organization, it sucks, but at the end of the day, he wants what's best for his client, and what's best for his client, if we're all being honest, is not being a Texan. No matter how you do it, no matter how you phrase it, no matter what you say, it doesn't make any sense for him to be a Texan. It doesn't help this team now, anyways. The relationship is past the point of repair. You make the decision to trade him, and you do it on the night that you can get the most out of him, and that's going to be draft night. And I think there's teams out there that people aren't talking about. I know the Jets and Miami and Carolina are the 3 teams that people are talking about. Sure, the Bears. I do think the Bears probably get a deal done with Russell Wilson, to be honest with you. But I think that, Oakland is a dark horse. I think there's lots of teams that would be willing to give up quite a bit to grab Deshaun Watson. And I think it'll be a team that comes out of nowhere. What's up, John?
Hey, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What's going on, John?
Hey, I'm just excited James is on again. I haven't seen him in forever.
I was not expecting that.
I go speaking to dude every week for 4 years, and pretty much haven't heard very much of him for the past 3 months. So I had to hop back on. Other than our emergency cast that disappeared into the ether, that was the best show ever, but we're not allowed to talk about it or anything like that.
Yeah, we can't talk about that one. No, it's good to be back. I'm glad. It's fun to be able to talk about it. It's crazy because this is normally these are the hard episodes, John. Like these are the episodes where we're trying to find content and we're doing it weekly and there's just not a lot out there. But of course, with the Texans and what they're going through, there's always something. So,
it's turned into a regular soap opera. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, I do think he's traded. I think he's traded draft night. And if not, I don't think he'll be traded at all. If he's not traded on draft night, he is going to be a Texan. There's nothing that can be done. Yeah. They're not going to trade him a year after it. They're not going to trade him 2 years after it. He can sit out as long as he wants. That tells me their heels are completely dug in, and there's nothing that they can do about it, or there's nothing he can do about it. They're going to prove a point. Well, and you also got to keep in mind the business perspective, right? If Cal signs off on this trade, there are 31 other owners who are going to rip his throat out for opening up Pandora's box and giving players the power. This is not the NBA. This is not something we see. This is not the normalcy in the NFL. And we see it in the NBA, right? I mean, Austin, you cover the Rockets. I'm a diehard Laker fan. I grew up watching basketball my entire life. The NBA has always been about the players. But, there's only 5 starters. It plays. You have the best player on your team, you're going to be competitive no matter what. In the NFL, it's just not the case. Even with Deshaun Watson, we just saw him have one of the best statistical years of a quarterback in the history of the NFL, and we went 4-12. So I don't know. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy, but I do think that 4 firsts is probably where it starts, and there's going to have to be players involved.
Well, they have to find the right quarterback. That's what it comes down to. The only way that Deshaun is getting traded is if the Texans are comfortable with whatever quarterback they get back in return, whether or not it's a draft pick to pick one of these rookies, whether or not it's another young quarterback that's out there. Otherwise, the Texans do hold the leverage because that cap hit, you keep Deshaun and he sits out for the year, they save $20 million. They trade him, they have a $24 million cap hit. That's the leverage, and I don't understand why that keeps getting buried. Even Texans Cap, when I was talking to him on Twitter about it, he said it's just because do they want 12 months of bad publicity? Well, obviously they put their fingers in the air and they go la 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 and say prayers all day because they obviously don't give 2 rats asses about publicity, or Easterby would be gone.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to address this. I don't think Quincy and David are snakes. I think Quincy's doing what's best for his best friend, and David's doing what's best for his client. At the end of the day, that's really all it boils down to. It's not anything more than that. David's job is to magnify Deshaun Watson and maximize who he is as a player and a talent and a marketable quarterback. He makes more money if he goes to a market that signs endorsement deals and all these other things. David makes a cut of that. So that plays a part. And David is really freaking good at what he does. He might be the best. He probably is the best because he's a cutthroat. He's cutthroat. Once he's set in his ways, that's all there is to it. And so, I don't think they're snakes. I think they're just looking out for a guy who's 25, didn't have a father figure, has 2 people to lean on that can help guide him through this process. I don't think Deshaun woke up one day and said, you know what, I hate the city of Houston. I want out of here. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think he realizes that he's used to winning, and this franchise is never going to do that. I need to win. It becomes addictive, just so everybody understands. When you win, it's an addictive feeling. You want to continue to win. And when you don't for a while, you don't feel like yourself. And so he wants to get back on track to winning. Austin, what else you got on this?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that the trades that we made for getting rid of Clowney for Conley and just like those little trades that we were making in the midst of the season a couple years ago, if those hit, I think we're in a position to compete. But the fact that we really compounded the problem by not putting like Jacob Martin in a position to succeed, not giving him the snaps, we don't even know what the hell we have still, right? So if we were to actually give these guys snaps, we'd have maybe a positive outlook on the season. But we don't know what we have from these little trades, I think, that could have made the difference. I mean, Laramie, that was a trade in itself that I think is fine. It's warranted. I can't sleep at night sometimes, but what are you going to do? I think that Deshaun's fine with that. I think those little moves could have put us in a position where he's a little bit more motivated to go out there and compete for us this season. But, yeah, he wants to win. I think he's got to do what he's got to do. I agree with you from an agency standpoint, but also from operational standpoint of the Texans. I mean, if you're gonna suck one year, you might as well choose this year, right? I mean, you can try to save money. It's just like what the Rockets are doing with their tanking, right? They can't have fans in the stadium anyways. So what's the point? You might as well try to tank it out where you're not going to make money anyways. And they probably never really cared from a reputation standpoint keeping Jack in the building.
Yeah, Jack. I don't know. I mean, that conversation, all these skits and funny comedies and everything that people are doing, it's cool. It's great for clicks. It's whatever. Sure, he's an idiot. He shouldn't be charged with any football operations. He shouldn't have the power he has. But at the end of the day, he does. We have to hope one day that Cal wakes up and realizes he made a mistake. And if so, then maybe we'll be into greener pastures. But until then, like this Jack Easterby saga is just going to be a forever thing. It's just there's just nothing we can do about it, and I prefer not to just bitch about somebody that's Jack Easterby. I don't know, just some pastor is what it is.
Well, I mean, pretty much their only hope of getting rid of Easterby is next year the Texans legitimately are going to end up with their number one pick without Watson, and they lose the locker room when they do so. If the locker room stays relatively positive, Easterby still going to be around, wins or losses, no matter what. But the only way that I can see him possibly being let go is if the locker room just goes utterly chaos when they start to lose. Because, he gets a lot of credit for building these great locker rooms in New England. But first off, you've got Belichick, who's just that weird personality anyways. And winning's easy. It's easy to be happy when you're winning. When next year, without Deshaun, no matter what sort of trade return we get, is going to be an awful year to watch Texans football. So,
Patty?
Yeah, I think this kind of plays out similar to what, like, in my opinion, and I've said this from the beginning, like if they hired Cully, that he's kind of like oh boy, now I'm drawing a blank on his name. The head coach for the Astros right now, where he's just kind of filling in, right, getting them over this hump, getting them through all this
Dusty
drama
Baker.
and all this. Dusty Baker, yeah. He's so David Culley is, the Texans' Dusty Baker. He's that guy that's going to come in that the players are going to, maybe not so much gravitate to, but they're going to respect and kind of buy into some of the things that he's saying. He's not a guy that's going to kind of, come in and try to throw his weight around like Bill O'Brien was doing. He's going to be that change of pace and, just kind of get guys settled back down and get their emotions right. And, they may not be, obviously super successful underneath them. I know the Astros were, I guess, decently successful with Dusty last year, and we'll see what happens this year. But he's just kind of like a bridge, head coach, and everything up in the front office and everything like that, that's all set. Like, nothing's going to change. And the only thing that's going to change is if something incriminating comes out on anybody up there. And I doubt any of that will ever happen. So it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, we just got to kind of roll with the punches, regardless of who's going to be the quarterback or, the running back or wide receivers, whatever. We're just in a shitty situation right now as fans. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let me ask you guys this. We'll just do, I guess we'll have a conversation about it, but is any of this happening? And Austin, I'll start with you. If Bill O'Brien is still here.
Oh my goodness. I honestly do not think so. That's a great question. I don't think it would be this bad if we had Billy O back, but to kind of go back a half step, actually, I kind of think like how you were reiterating with Dusty Baker. I kind of think it's very comparable to Steven Silas with the Rockets too, dealing with what he had to deal with this year and the way he not necessarily he's gravitating his players, but he definitely commands their respect. And even more so coming with, he has, I think, roughly 20 years of experience. Coley's got even more, I think, right? I hope that we can actually see the X's and O's come out when we see the Texans play. But to be honest, I'm feeling pretty negative about Salas's ability to get out of his own way, I think, and kind of open his creativity on the basketball court. So I can see a lot of comparables between the Texans and the Rockets right now. Hopefully on Sunday we see a little bit different regardless of who's our quarterback. But that's all I had to say. So go ahead.
Yeah,
John.
I don't want an 11-game losing streak.
Right.
I don't want that, but I feel like we might get one of those this year. John, is this situation any better if Billy O was still here?
If Billy O is still here, this can of worms never gets opened. So yeah, it's a better situation.
Yeah.
If Billy O is still here and Caserio gets hired, the whole thing never even comes up.
Yep. Because
that's just one of those, like, the Bill O'Brien recognizing that he's over his head and somebody's going to come in, and it's not a story for the entire season. So part of why this is such an issue is after every loss, they would ask Deshaun questions about who the next head coach would be, about who the next GM is going to be, like what's the future in store for him. If Bill O'Brien's still here, those questions are never asked. And I mean, maybe even on top of that, just Bill O'Brien's personality. Like, I mean, he let Easterby in the building, but I think that he would be more aware of what's actually going on outside NRG, whereas Cal is just, completely shut himself down. And Caserio has admitted that Easterby helped him with his marriage. So he has a huge blind spot. And until that blind spot's broken down, I mean, it just is what it is.
Pat, what are your thoughts? Is it the same if Billy O was here right now? All right, Pat's not paying attention. I think ultimately I agree with Houston Texans talk. I think if Billy would have made it all the way to the end of the season, I think Jack would have been fired. I truly believe that. I really believe that Jack would not be here. I think he would have seen. We all think one thing, or most people think one thing of Billy O, and they think that he was a cancer to the culture. He demanded too much and things like that. But the one thing that he really did do is players said it after he was gone. He always had the players back. Always. That was never a doubt in their mind. Bill O'Brien always had the players back. And if the players would have brought up some of the stuff that was happening with Jack Easterby, I truly believe that he would have been able to get Jack Easterby gone. And or if anything, if he would have made it through the end of the season, I think both him and Jack would have been gone.
I think that would have been more likely.
I think that would have been more likely.
Completely clean house. But
yeah. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is. I miss Billy O with all of this going on. It's kind of crazy to think about, but like I really do. I really don't think any of this would be happening. None of it. I don't think
we would have not have seen Deshaun take off like he did either. Statistically speaking, you would not have had that season. Thus, you probably wouldn't have had the ego or whatever he's going through right now, right? Because of that as well. So almost on two fronts, you could actually see it not happening.
Yeah, Paul, I agree. I don't think the baby mama stuff was real. I really don't. You're not a baby mama guy, but then you're also going to take 10 minutes out of your press conference to talk about social or systematic racism in this country. Those two just don't go hand in hand. Okay, he was the first white head coach to come out and use his platform to talk about that at the lengths that he did. And when we talked to DJ.
I think the baby mama comment got falsely attributed to Bill O'Brien when it was probably Easterby.
I think that
might actually be. I think that's kind of like the root of a lot of the issues the players have with Easterby, is things like that sound like things that he would say, especially if you watch his crappy sermons. Like he would try and say it joking around, and he's a goofball. He's to put it nicely, like he's so awkward that he probably said something like that joking around, and it's got him blown out of proportion. And guys outside heard the secondhand stories about it, and of course we attributed it to Bill O'Brien because I remember at that time no one really knew or cared who Jack Easterby was.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's get to JJ Watt. I guess this will be the last time we probably mention him, which is kind of great for me. I look, I can care less about JJ Watt. To me, he's still the second best Texan in Texans history. Andre Johnson is and will forever be the number one Texans player in my heart. JJ had more success on the field. But Andre dealt with a lot more adversity, in my opinion. I think if Andre had Deshaun for just 4 years, it'd be insane what he was able to do. But JJ Watt, great player. But I'm so glad his corny ass is gone. I don't want to see any more of Captain America stuff and all this other stuff. I think it's funny that the guy that there was okay. So just to take it back, JJ Watt signs with the Cardinals. To me, I think that was the biggest mistake that he could have made. Cliff Kingsbury will likely be gone within either at the end of this season or at the end of the 2022 season. Cliff is not meant to be an NFL head coach. He wasn't meant to be a college head coach.
I want to take so you know.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's not. Yeah, no, he's not head coach material. He's not going to be able to handle that locker room. And they're going to be gone. I just don't buy Kyler. I don't buy Kyler yet. I want to see him do it for another year or two before I say that Kyler's should be up there. And I think he signed for the money. They could have reports and say that he turned down more money for the Colts. He turned down more money from, I think it was the Bills or Browns. It was the Browns. Browns and Colts offered more money. I don't buy it. I don't. I think they said that to save face. I think they sent that out to the media, let them know what they were offering, but I don't think that was truly the case. I think Arizona offered him the most money, and he had to take where this was his last chance. He wasn't going to sign another deal like this. At the age of 34, he's not going to sign another deal like this. He had to take the money that he got. I think Arizona is a trash. I think they're going to be trash. I really don't think they're going to be any good. I think the same season from last year will be the same season they have this year. And I think he made a mistake. I think he should have went to the Bills. I think if he would have went to the Bills, I think McDermott would have used him right. I think he would have probably lessened his snaps. I think he would have found a way to fit him into his defense. He might have been more of a situational pass rusher. Maybe that's what he didn't like about the Bills. They were probably very honest with him and told him, you're not the same guy, but you can be in certain times and certain snaps. And I think that hurt his ego, and I think he just went wherever the money was. That's just me.
I disagree. I don't think it was money.
Okay.
I think you're close, but I don't think it was money. I think it's stats.
So yeah.
I think
so that tweet today, that is a tweet that I've been screaming that from the highest mountaintop in the world. I don't have the tweet reference, but I saw it on Reddit. But basically, he says that one former coach of the Houston Texans says that JJ Watt was one of the most selfish players that he's been around, and he was all about the stats and never about the team. I've screamed that for years. It's on tape. You can see it. It is a very valid point. Anybody who watches film, while they agree that he is great, he demands double and triple teams and all those things. It's 100% crystal clear. But a lot of the issues we had on defense just this last season was the fact that JJ Watt freelanced. It was more about getting his stats up. And I'm glad he's gone. I know most people hate to hear that, but you save $17 million, and I'd rather have that $17 million go somewhere else than to JJ Watt, to be 100%.
Yeah, I just went to Deshaun's pocket, right? All that money went right to him. So, yeah, no, 100% agree. He wasn't moving along the line this past season as much as he used to, but he just, undisciplined maneuvers, undisciplined playing. So, anyways, I love JJ. Don't get me wrong. I pretty much became a Texans fan when his first season here, really. So, but yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think it was some of the stats that we already knew about. Definitely got more concerned about the rumors with him and Hop and stuff like that. So I think we have a reason to believe that it could be both. I'm a Texas Tech Red Raider, so I get what you're saying about Cliff. Definitely didn't deserve a job in my opinion. But and then Kyler's throwing the ball like another 10 attempts per game over Deshaun. That's why his stats are so big, right? He plays in that air raid offense basically and throws the ball another 10 times per game. From what I remember seeing when I was looking last year, is that correct? Because I know he's just throwing the ball.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but so, he was throwing them short, a lot. There wasn't a lot of downfield action. A lot of it was 5-6 yard outs to DeAndre, kind of how the Texans used him, except it was on one side of the field. I think it was the left side of the field, right?
Well, also, DeAndre Hopkins was literally only on the left side of the field. But before we trash Kyler Murray, he did play with a sprained AC joint in his throwing shoulder towards the end of the season, which is why his stats kind of dropped towards the end. So I mean, you can criticize the kid, but at the same time, kind of also putting in context. That's why the short passes and why the offense really did fall off towards the end there. And also the NFL kind of figured him out. Let's not lie. Like, the NFL figured him out. So there was a lot of factors going into that. Now, to get back a little bit about JJ, and like, I'm okay with him leaving. It sucks and it's painful because, I mean, he has been the Texans. There was times where it felt like he was the only Texan worth kind of going for. But he's not that same player anymore. But I kind of agree with James. He decided on the Cardinals because they're going to put him in a position where he can go get stats for 2 years. He can go get paid for 2 years. In 2 years, he will be able to go sign and be a situational pass rusher and really, truly chase a ring and not be a full-time player. But I think that when he was shopping around, he kind of realized that it's like, hey, this is my last chance to be a full-time player. I don't want to go anywhere where I'm going to be situational. I want money, and I want it to be in a defense that's going to let me pile up a couple more stats, because let's be honest, like, Watt doesn't become the player he is if he wasn't stat hungry. Like, that's what motivated him. Like, I don't fault him for being greedy because that's how he got great. Like, that's just what it is. But he's not ready to quite let go, which is part of the reason why I can agree with the Texans just letting him go, because he was still wanting to be treated like Watt, and he wasn't ready to take that step back.
Yeah, if I may, that's another thing to think about with money, right? There's money on two fronts: your actual, salary and whatnot, but then your endorsements. There's no other big name player on the Cardinals defense. He is the biggest name.
Chandler Jones.
You could argue they're tit for tat. They're a perfect complement to each other at this point in their careers. But when you think about it, I think that's definitely got something to do with it in terms of being a big name player on that defense and still maintaining.
JJ. Let's be real. Like, a lot of JJ, part of it is this persona that he's built. That's why he's a big name. Usually, it doesn't matter even with the stats that he's had. He plays defense. You really don't know who he is unless he has like this big, larger than life Captain America persona. So Chandler Jones is right behind JJ in most stats. Like, Chandler Jones is right there, but he's a quiet guy. He doesn't have this big world wrestling entertainment personality like JJ does.
Well, and he doesn't have the name. I mean, ultimately, I think that's what Austin was trying to get to, is like JJ's name carries weight. JJ is he's looked at as a star still to this day. Yeah, he's got a sell ticket, and he still sells jerseys. Fun fact: not one Texan was in the top 20 of jersey sales in 2020. Just so everybody, just throw that out there. But yeah, no, I mean, look, go get your money. That's fine. He can go to Green Bay and retire and play the last 2 seasons. He's also got a career in announcing and broadcasting in his future. JJ is going to be fine money-wise. So I guess for me, that's kind of why I was surprised. If CBS gives Tony Romo 10 years, $150 million, JJ Watt's probably going to get a little bit more than that. Mm-hmm. And so past his career, he would have an opportunity to make some money. And he could have spent, not his prime, but he could have spent some good years on a better defense and a better situation. And I think ultimately for me, that's kind of what it comes down to. But I'm glad he's gone. I really could care less about JJ. The last 3 years of JJ, I'm surprised he got that deal given his injury history. I think that's probably the biggest thing for me, that I can't believe somebody committed $23 million to a guy who's only played, 2 seasons in the last 5? That's an insane amount of money.
Mm-hmm. I think he's got 9 sacks or 10 sacks in the last 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah. And especially for a guy, he had 6 last year, right?
5, I think.
Okay, so 5 sacks. Come on. I mean, that's crazy.
Buda Baker is their best player on the Cardinals. I forgot about him. He's a star.
Hands down. Down. Well, I'd take Chandler over Buda, but I prefer a pass rusher over a safety. But I think Chandler is on pace to break JJ's record after this season for most sacks in 5 seasons or something like that. Or Oh, there's some stat. I forgot what it was, but yeah. All right. I don't have anything else. John, is there anything that you wanted to go through while you have me until next month? And you're supposed to take the night off, by the way.
Oh man. Well, I should have, but it is what it is. But I missed you. I had to come on here. I had to say, hey. So how are you? Well, you may have talked about it. Y'all might have already talked about it. But how are you sitting with the coaching staff? Because we haven't talked since they finalized.
I think Coley's a holdover. I don't know how soon. I don't know how quick. I think it all depends. I'm still holding on hope that Joe Brady is the guy, like next season or something like that. It's the only like prayer I have, the only saving grace I see is that Coley isn't like the head coach. And to be honest, I don't even think that David Coley would be a bad coach if he was with the proper organization. I don't think he's like great in any way. I don't think he's going to be this blockbuster head coach that's able to turn around an organization and get the most out of them. But I do think he could be serviceable. He has a great staff. Pep Hamilton is great. I'm really shocked. A lot of people were talking about like Pep Hamilton, like I can't believe Deshaun wants to stay. Like that's why they hired Pep Hamilton, was to keep Deshaun here. I think they brought Pep here because they knew they were going to be developing a quarterback. That's honestly what I believe. I believe Pep was brought in. I forgot who put it out. It was on Reddit, but he's like the highest paid assistant coach in the league with the Texans. So, I mean,
they gave Pep offensive coordinator money.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so
it's one of those. It's like my. It's probably wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if Deshaun doesn't come back, if he's traded, if Tim Kelly moves on and they promote Pep. Like that wouldn't shock me because of how much they're paying Pep Hamilton.
Yeah, I just wonder why Tim Kelly was kept. Not that I'm against it. I think he deserves an opportunity doing something on the offense for sure after last season. And the fact they declined multiple requests to interview for an OC spot. But there's no way they thought that was like the saving grace for Deshaun. They had an idea and then bringing in Pep and all that. So the coaching staff to me overall is a decent coaching staff. It's a lot better than what I expected. I love the wide receiver coach from the Lions. That tells me that we're going to go young at wide receiver, and we're going to develop wide receivers as well. So this is a long haul build. And don't be surprised if one of these assistant coaches is in the running for a head coaching position with the Texans in a year or two. I know a lot of people are pegging Josh McCown. I don't believe McCown is the next head coach. I find that to be a bit of a stretch. But maybe Pep. Maybe you're seeing a lot of out of the box hires this year, and then the year past, like Joe Judge, and then there was another one this year that just threw me off. The Lions head coach, Dan Campbell. So I wouldn't be surprised if Pep or what's the wide receivers coach from the Lions? Why can't it Robert Parrish? Why am I thinking it's Parrish? No. What's his name? We need a stat guy. Kind of like a.
Usually I write this stuff down.
Wasn't the Chargers hire? Wasn't he a box guy too? Brandon Staley.
It's Robert. It's Robert Prince. Robert Prince.
That's it. No, Stanley is or Staley is that was a risk hire, but likely a high reward guy. He's basically the Joe Brady of defenses right now. So that makes a ton of sense. I think, especially with who they have at quarterback and the talent they have on defense, I think they saw what he did with the Rams defense and said, oh my God, we have even better players on almost every part of the defense. It's going to be amazing to see what he can do. Right. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think ultimately,
offense is relatively fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that coaching staff at all. Like that's something to actually be a little bit excited about. If our offense was, if we actually knew what our offense was going to look like next year. However, the problem, what about the defense, dude? What about the defense? You can't be happy about Lovie Smith, right? Like, I'm surprised I haven't heard you screaming about that.
I mean, it's hard to be mad about anything with this team anymore, to be honest with you. Like, I can't.
That's true.
I don't have a piece in my mentally to be able to take on the frustration that they have or that they create. There's just so many surprising things that they do. Like the frustration level, it's just football at the end of the day. I'm not at that place anymore where it's just like, all right, I'm going to come on a roast. I mean, it's just too much. I've spent too much time on it. They've been in my head a little too much for me to warrant that. And Lovie Smith, a tread, a retread on defense, but somewhat of an interesting guy. You got
the brains for it, but Tampa 2 hasn't worked in any system. I don't even know how long. Who even runs a Tampa 2 system anymore?
Nobody.
It didn't work 4 or 5 years ago. You expect it to work now?
Yeah.
We don't have the personnel to run anything resembling a Tampa 2. So I'm amazed that they brought a guy in that is so far off from the personnel that we have.
Yeah.
Are we surprised that EB didn't get the get a head coaching job? I'm not. And as everybody knows, it has nothing to do with the skin color. I think I think that shadow of Andy Reid is an extremely hard shadow to get out of. And then when you see what Matt Nagy and Doug Peterson just went, or Matt Nagy's going through and Doug Peterson went through, I think it's a very interesting dynamic, and I think he's going to have to go somewhere else to be able to prove that he can be a head coach. Then you add his past and his 22 years in the league and everything else, and now finally he gets a shot when he has the best quarterback in the league. I don't know. And he also doesn't interview well. I mean, it was documented. He just doesn't interview well. They were going to go with EB. That guy wanted top 3 head coaching money. I mean, what can you do? That guy doesn't deserve top 3 head coaching money. He wanted roster control. Can't. And so he pulled out of the deal when he wasn't getting what he wanted and turned him down. So at the end of the day, I think EB's just going to kind of be a coordinator the rest of his life. It's not a bad thing, but is what it is. What else, John? What else you got for me? You got me for 8 minutes.
Let's see. 8 minutes. What did y'all talk about before I came on? Because I'm sure you talked about David Johnson.
Yep. Talked about the roster cuts.
How are you feeling about the running back room with David Johnson coming back?
Oh, as long as it's him and Buddy, I actually feel pretty good about it. I think you can add another guy, maybe a 4th or 5th round guy, and run it back with the squad. But I like it. I like David Johnson and Buddy Howell. I like what we saw from Buddy Howell when he did get snaps. I mean, he looked great. And then David, after the mental health stuff, I mean, he looked fine too. Maybe it is Scotty Phillips, maybe it's, maybe it's Demaria Crockett, maybe it's Cron Higdon. I don't know. I mean, but I feel good about the running back. It's the offensive line that's always going to be the issue for me. But they got rid of Mike Devlin, so they can't be worse.
They got rid of Mike Devlin, and they got rid. Why am I forgetting his name? The center,
Nick Martin.
Nick Martin. And Nick Martin's gone. So I'm seeing as how you've been one of his biggest haters. So
yeah, I hope we move Fulton. I hope we move Fulton to center and figure out that right guard spot, because I think that's the fitting. I think that fits right there. Mike Davis would be interesting.
So Mike Davis was trolling.
Thanks, Jerome, for the 399.
Mike Davis was just enjoying the attention on Twitter, and he was having fun. But he came out and he said he has no idea what's going to happen. But would you be happy with a Mike Davis, David Johnson backfield?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the perfect one too. To use David for what you would want him, what you should be using him for. That's Duke being gone kind of frees it up for David to be able to be that third down running back, that catching running back out of the backfield. But ultimately, I mean, I think you can add anybody back there. But I do think that Buddy and David are a very good start. I just hope that Buddy gets the chance, and if not him, then Scotty or whatever.
That's probably the best point out of it is that you can add anybody back there behind David, and you're going to have a pretty well-rounded room. I think the bigger question is the wide receivers at this point because we don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah. As far as drafting quarterbacks, I haven't looked into it because I don't know. I don't want to break down film on quarterbacks and then him still be here. But I do like this is gonna probably. I like Mac Jones a lot.
Like Mac Jones.
What?
I do.
Came out of left field there.
I like Mac Jones a lot.
Somebody,
and I like Zach Wilson.
Somebody on Twitter pointed out the best scouting advice I've ever seen on quarterbacks. Were they a high-level basketball player? Could they play basketball at a high level? That's kind of been a giveaway versus seeing the field just a little bit better because you learn how to see the court, learns how athletic you are. Whereas some of these guys that don't play basketball are a little bit more robotic, a little bit overcoached. And I think that's the problem that you always have with Alabama quarterbacks. They have the best protection. They have the best receivers. They have the best running backs. And they usually get the best coaching on top of that. And then they come in the NFL and all of a sudden they don't have the best of everything. They're not used to chaos. And then they struggle. So that's my issue with Mac Jones because it's the same thing. I mean, you go to Alabama, of course, you are physically gifted as, like, from measurable standpoint, you are probably the best quarterback in that recruiting class, but you go to Alabama and you never have to deal with chaos. And if you've never played basketball on top of that, you've never dealt with chaos. So that's why I'm out on Mac Jones. But Trey Lance, I think with the right coaching, he's my guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I like Justin Fields a lot too, but I just don't want to deal with David again. Jerome T. Green, thank you for the $3.99. Would y'all be okay with Cook's wide receiver one? Yeah, absolutely. I think he showed the ability to be able to do that. And I think that you just surround him with the right pieces. Randall Cobb will be there. Who knows? I think it's funny. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Kiki, but we saw Kiki go from diva to really shine last season. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's given an opportunity. This is his contract year, so his best bet is to just kind of show up and grind it out and be the best player he can be. But yeah, I'm totally fine with Cooks being wide receiver one. I do think that we should restructure that deal though.
Yeah, it's got to be injury incentivized, right? That's the only thing about Cooks for me. But I went to Tech, like I said. I've seen Kiki grow up, and I mean, it's a damn shame it took so long to use him, right? I mean, because he was a cover three killer. That's what his strength is. Cover three killer, cover one over the top killer. That's what he vertical slot. But never used him until last season, doing that at the end of the season. So it's a damn shame. Same with David Johnson. They didn't use him as a true receiver until the end of the season, using that big body to box out in the red zone, stuff like that. I was just like, now you got to do this to me. Come on, guys. But I'm excited to see what they can do with it. I think the wide receiver 1 and 2 is only question mark. And
Chad Hansen, baby.
Say it again.
Chad Hansen,
right? I forgot about Hansen actually. Yeah, not too bad. What's he run? How fast was he anyways? Like a 4.5 guy?
I think he's like
Chad Hansen, he was actually a 4.4. He was a 4.4. He was a 4.4. He can run a little bit.
Nice little routes on him though. He's got some nice routes.
He does run some nice routes, but what will he do without Deshaun Watson throwing him the ball? That is the question that everybody will be wondering.
You need a lot of trust with him because he didn't get that much separation.
Yeah, and then we also have Isaiah Coulter. So I like Coulter a lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
but yeah, John. What else? What else did I miss?
Well, I think that's everything at this point. I mean, by the time you're back next month, I'm sure 100 different things will happen between now and then. When does free agency start? Does anybody know off the top of their head?
March 9th, I think.
Oh, wow. Like a week out?
Let me check.
Yeah, next time I'll definitely be more caught up on draft prospects and stuff like that.
Did y'all talk about who else you think's going to get cut?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You already did? Okay.
Yeah. I think probably the biggest one we came up with was
March 17th.
Oh, March 17th.
March 17th.
Or 15th. Sorry,
Yep.
15th.
15th.
So
yeah, I said Whitney will be cut.
We might actually have something to talk about.
Whitney will be cut, Roby will be cut, and then BMAC will either be cut or traded.
You really think they're going to cut Whitney with that cap hit?
Yep.
You're going to pay him $10 million to not play?
It's the only year we can do
Yeah,
it.
it's a COVID year, right? You're not making that money back anywhere else.
Hey, real quick. Well, I forgot to mention this. I meant to mention this earlier, and I totally forgot. What if Deshaun Watson isn't traded and opts out for the 2021 season because of COVID?
I'm not sure the contractual obligations for something like that, but damn, I got to process that one.
I've seen that bounce around a little bit on Twitter, and he's probably still not going to get paid.
Oh, he won't get paid.
Well, I mean, just coming for the with the like, it's essentially the same as him opting out for any other reason. They just won't fine him, so they don't have to pay his contract. His contract doesn't accrue a season, but he won't get fined.
Right.
So that's a net zero. So for the Texans, they still have the stronger hand in that because his contract doesn't accrue.
Right.
So again, if they trade Deshaun, that's a $24 million cap hit. If he sits out and they have the same COVID rules that they had this last year, it's a $0 cap hit. If they don't extend the COVID rules and it's just how it's supposed to be normal, then Deshaun will pay the franchise back $20 million. So that's where they keep talking about Deshaun doesn't have leverage. That's where it's coming from. He can't void his contract. If he voids his contract, he's retiring. Like, that's his option. If he sits out, doesn't want to play for the Texans, and the Texans don't want to trade him, then he has to retire, and he can't come back to the NFL because he's still under contract for the Texans.
Yeah, and I think Daniel. So before we get to Daniel, Ivory Vaughn's, I think Fuller's gone. I think he goes to another team, probably Green Bay or something like that. But appreciate the donation. We talked about it a little bit earlier. If you go back to the YouTube, we talked about Will Fuller. Daniel brings up a really good point about the COVID part. He'd basically be spitting on an entire. He'd be spitting in the face of people who have actually, suffered from COVID and have lost family members. That's bad press. And you got to take into account that he did not opt out last year. So why would you opt out this year? So just something else to think about. But I thought that was an interesting thing I saw floated around. But yeah, PJ Walker.
Yeah. So
if we were like a respectable organization, we would have something to lose by doing that to him. But because we're already the whale poo of the NFL right now, we've got nothing to lose. So let the cards play out.
Yeah. I think draft is what, April something, right? So I'll be back on before then.
It's like April 21st or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is what I've been saying. I think that eventually Deshaun, unless the Texans get blown away with a trade offer that allows them to get a quarterback that they truly want, because they know this season's a lost year. I can't see Deshaun actually sitting out for the entire season.
Yeah, Jerome, I think you're right. If I was Nick Caserio, he would be sitting. I wouldn't, and I would do exactly what he's doing now. I wouldn't answer voicemails. I wouldn't answer texts. I wouldn't answer emails. He's our quarterback. That's it. And I think that's exactly where I would keep it. And I would not even there would be no. I would tell David and Deshaun straight up. I'd invite him in for a meeting. I'd pay for the dinner, whatever it would be. I'm going to be very honest with you, Deshaun. We're not trading you. You're not going anywhere. And I really don't want this to be our relationship. I really don't want this to be how we move forward. But I'm going to let you know right now, you're not going anywhere. You're under contract. There's nothing you can do to void it. There's no way for you to get out of it. You are going to be a Houston Texan for the foreseeable future. If I decide to trade you, I will let you know. But outside of that, you're a Houston Texan for the next 4 years. So you can either man up and deal with it, or you can sit out and retire. But good luck winning while you're not playing. And if winning means as much as you say it does, and you want to be as legendary as you have stated in multiple press conferences, you'll suit up with that number 4 jersey with the Liberty white and the battle red and the deep steel blue and the color rush blue, and you will go out there and you will play your ass off and you will be the best quarterback that we know you can be. And if you do that, we will support you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. That's your only option. That's what I would do.
Beautifully said.
I mean, that's what it is. That's what it is. You go in, you tell Deshaun, it's like, listen, you're playing your cards, having the media on your side to kind of push these rumors and to turn the heat up. Like, that's it. That's all he has. He has to use the media because the Texans don't have to do anything. Like, they can straight up tell Deshaun, we can't afford to trade you. We can't take the $24 million cap hit because if they trade him, they're getting penalized no matter what the return is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've said it even when this first started. It's like, let Deshaun sit for a year. Let us get the first round pick. The only person that really punishes is Deshaun because he loses a year where he's in his prime. Like he doesn't get that year back. Like that's going to hurt him longer in his career. But quarterbacks play longer and longer. He may play into his 40s now. So, I mean, Brady's doing it. So let him take the year, get healthy, get the first round pick. And you know what? Maybe come back next offseason and figure it out because we're going to be a crappy team next year, even if Deshaun plays. So if you're Caserio, like there really isn't, like Deshaun wanting to sit out for a season is almost a blessing.
Yeah,
it's just the media.
Antonia, I hope I said that right. Why the Houston media is taking a complete opposite position? Because you'll click on any link that has anything to do with Deshaun Watson or trade.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Houston sports dream right now. All of them.
This
Every
is a
single
national sports dream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, this is everywhere. Like, if you talk about this is the top quarterback in the league wanting off a team. And this is a team that's quiet, that doesn't have a real good media person anymore because of dumb decisions. They can't defend themselves. He has a legitimate case. This is clickbaity. Like, people love reading about this. People love having this discussion. This is why we end up talking about it every week. So, of course, they're not going to say it in any reasonable way. But there's smart guys out there, if you listen to them, there's some smart guys out there saying, the Texans don't have to do anything. There's guys out there saying that this is media driven, and those are all correct. Like, this is media driven. This is Deshaun's play card. Like,
if I was Nick, I would also tell David straight up, you can cut the bullshit out with the Twitter. You can stop going to your sources. You can try to leak every information you want. I can care less if you have pictures of Jack with little kids in bed. Either way, this is not changing anything. So you might as well stop because you're spending way too much time on this. I'm letting you know right now, he is not going to be traded. So if you want to go to Demarius Smith or you want to go to the NFLPA or you want to go to Roger Goodell, feel free. But at the end of the day, the signature is at the bottom of that contract. I ultimately have the ability and the power to be able to do what I want with this future. I'm trying to work it out and make amends and make this work. You guys are not. So therefore, I'm letting you know where we stand and what we're doing. You can either come to work on April 21st when training camp starts, or you can tell your client why you lost him $158 million. Because that's going to be a conversation you're going to have with Deshaun, not me. And then see what players sign with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do.
He's trying to play a game that, unless the Texans get the return they want, they don't have to move. And using the media, that may be the only thing that it gets people. If there's a rumor out there that a team wants to give up 2 whole drafts for Deshaun.
Who said that?
Now
nobody's doing that.
It's out there. It was on. I mean, not exactly. It wasn't exactly on a trustworthy source, but it's out there. I think it was NFL Rumors that retweeted it. But if you get that sort of return, then maybe Nick will pull the trigger. But that's it. Like, the Texans have to get what they actually want out of it. And at this point, we've said it many, many times. There's not a team that has the assets to get Deshaun. The Texans can't lose this deal.
Mm-hmm.
So why would they trade him?
We can't, even if they had a star we can get back, we can't fit him under the cap, right? Because of the dead money. So we couldn't even get a star back.
They have to be on a rookie deal. That was what everybody was forgetting about Christian McCaffrey when that bullshit Panthers trade rumor got floated. Between the cap hits, like, you literally can't afford them. Like, you would have to cut players to make room for that contract. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. So at the end of the day, he's got no market he can go to besides the three main teams we're talking about. Carolina's barely in that because we don't want Teddy. So
I think Carolina's heavy into it, to be honest with you.
oh,
And
I think Carolina wants to make it work, but they can't.
I think Deshaun wants to make it work with Carolina too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they want to, but Carolina doesn't have the assets to make it work. Like again, you can't throw CMC on. You can't throw Teddy Bridgewater because the cap hits. It would have to be Brian Burns, and it would have to be the Panthers somehow have to get another first-round pick that they don't have. Then maybe they can make that work. And then at that point, is it too painful for the Panthers?
I don't know. I think and also when it comes to Caserio and this whole like dealing with David and Deshaun, I'd start to play their game. I would start to get on their level. They're leaking stuff to the media. They're doing everything they can to try to gain the little leverage that they have. I would flip it right back on them in a press conference. I would invite David and Deshaun to sit in an interview and talk about what they're actually frustrated with on camera, live, so that the world can fucking see what it is that you're frustrated with, so that we can hear it from the two sources that are leaking all the information. I'd like to hear Deshaun come up and say, this is why I'm mad, and then see Nick respond in a way that we totally understand, and we made a mistake, but we're trying to correct that mistake. Is this mistake not correctable to you? Has nobody ever made a mistake to you or with you in your life in the past? Did you just burn them? This is no different. Like, there's so many different things that they can do. They'll never do that because NFL is not a reality show, but there are things that Nick can do to really turn it back around. They can turn it back around. Mm-hmm. And if they want to, they will.
Mm-hmm. And then who knows where that goes in terms of getting free agents, stuff like that. I don't see them wanting to get free agents until they know they're not going to have to pay a premium for them, right?
Yeah.
So until this showdown happens, right? What's the point of making any moves until next offseason, right? So 100% agree that needs to go down in some form or fashion, and that way one domino can lead to another. Perhaps we go get that Washington guard or something like that, Brandon Scherf, or somebody that's going to really make Deshaun happy. So.
Yeah, and John, as somebody says that I should work for the Texans and be this public's face. I actually remember how I told you, John, about your resume and doing a video thing? I actually did that and sent it to Nick and told him that I would be the one that negotiates and talks with Deshaun and David. He didn't respond.
I love it.
He didn't respond, but
that is awesome. That is awesome.
I did send it. I'll send it to you. I have a copy of it. I'll send it to you.
Nice. We need to put it on YouTube.
Maybe maybe I'll record one for YouTube specifically. But
go.
Yeah, this whole situation is just
make that thing go viral.
Mess.
Yeah, and I mean, we just talked about why it's very unlikely that Deshaun gets traded. He still might. Somebody may come up with an offer that the Texans are happy with, but it should never have been in this situation. And what sucks for me is even talking about these things, like trying to talk about it rationally. I agree with Deshaun. If I was him, I'd be pissed too. I absolutely agree. I see where he's coming from. I know that there's people that are fanning the fire and keeping him pissed, but his reasons for being mad, if your boss lies to you, if you think you're told one thing, I totally would understand not wanting to continue to work for that boss, especially if he's not just a regular employee. He's like the face of the franchise. He is. And what they ask quarterbacks to do, and especially in the NFL, what they ask every one of those players to put their bodies through, if you make a promise to one of those guys, you should follow through with it. And if Cal McNair can barely get through a sentence, I believe he has led Deshaun on because he doesn't know how to communicate with people. So I completely understand why Deshaun's pissed. But it's unfortunate. He wants to be an NFL quarterback. He doesn't really have the leverage that the media is trying to make him out to have.
Yeah, but to be honest, I don't think Cal's intentions were to lead him on. I think it's just bad communication. Everybody's been a part of that at work, where you were either left out of the loop on an email chain or whatever it would be. Like shit like that happens. And I do think that they wanted them involved. I think things happened quick with Nick. I think things changed on a dime. I think there's all sorts of moving pieces that people aren't talking about. And I think, yeah, he does have a right to be upset. But I wouldn't be surprised if he understands now at this point that totally lost my train of thought with laughing my ass off. Ari is so full of shit. I don't know what he's saying.
No, I mean, I'm just gonna follow through. It's like I believe that Cal honestly thought that he was doing the right thing by Deshaun, took him to dinner, heard him out, and thought that he was processing what Deshaun wanted with the GM. But Cal said something to Deshaun, and then they go out and they hire a guy that they've been chasing for 3 years. So his actions and whatever he was said to Deshaun completely threw Deshaun for a loop. So I understand why Deshaun's pissed. Absolutely understand.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
get
all
it. And yeah, sure, they definitely should have communicated. I agree. It is your job to communicate, but shit happens.
Yeah, I think
Like,
Deshaun's going above and beyond though to really be the new icon and turn the narrative into the NBA in terms of what you can get away with. Though I think he wants to be that first player to be able to do something like this and navigate his way out of a terrible situation that he's in. So I don't
think it's him.
I mean, he wouldn't.
I don't think it's him. I think it's David. David wants it to be the NBA because David then has more power as an agent. I don't think Deshaun can give a shit if he's the player that starts the revolution. I think it's David feeding and telling and leading and letting him know, because one, it's all about the pitch, right? And anything you do, it's all about the pitch. Hey, you're never going to win in Houston. Look at what they're doing. But there's other organizations that we can build you around. And I know winning's really important, right? In sales, you always go with the emotional piece to get the buy-in first, because once they're emotionally attached, then they start to buy into the process that you're selling. So it's about winning, and we can go to these 3 teams, and I have a great relationship with Brian Flores, and they're building a winning culture over there, and you can be an icon. You could be the next Dan Marino. You love Dan Marino, right? And then, oh yeah, I love all these. And so David's doing this because as an agent, he gets a ton more power. He has a ton more leverage in negotiations. He has the ability to make the moves that are needed for the NFL to become the NBA. And I think ultimately that's what it boils down to.
Fair enough. No, fair enough. He would be the moment anybody wants anything goes wrong with their contract situation, they're going to be thinking of him over their own agent, right? So they're going to try to do anything they can to get in front of him if that happens. But yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
My guess is with the Bob McNair is, first off, Deshaun was a rookie, and regardless of anything, when you're a rookie, you don't have that sort of power. Now Deshaun has been crowned one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, so there's a little bit of a flip there. And then, first off, Bob McNair's comments, while they were horrible, weren't directly said in regards to Deshaun. Now, they were said about all the players, so that he could have taken it like that. Whereas Cal promised Deshaun more power. And that's kind of what it got down to. Is Deshaun feels as though he was promised a voice and say in the direction of the franchise going forward versus a halfway racist comment.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. Trying to think of, I guess here, let's talk about this since maybe he's traded beforehand. Trade destinations and packages. Do you want to talk about that?
For Deshaun?
Yeah.
I mean, I like Miami's deal. That's the one I like the most. Everybody knows what the package would be, I think, by now. What the free two of the 3 first rounders this year, right? And then 1 next year.
Yep.
And then who would be included on the side? Who would be included on the side? What players are Miami sending over?
Maybe Tua and Xavier.
Right. Okay, I mean, I would take that and just see what Tua can do. I don't really like him or hate him quite yet, but I'd take Devontae Parker too, or one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
I don't know. Whoever gives us the most first-round picks and the closest to the top of the draft. Like, we have to have a first, second, or third pick, I think. Like, I can't. Right now, I believe the only team that can send over, like, truly a fair compensation and make it realistic is Miami. The Jets have too many holes. Like if Deshaun wants to go to the Jets, then everything that's been said about David is absolutely correct. He's pushing Deshaun to be more of a star instead of a good football player. Whereas he goes to Miami, he could potentially still win. The Dolphins have the extra first-round pick, our first-round pick, which feels dirty getting it back. And the problem there is they don't have the young talent to offset. Like, unless you really want Tua, there's not really another young contract that's really a huge difference maker. What Miami's built on is they've gotten a lot of players correct, not just a few players correct. So, I mean, Xavier Howard, as much as everybody wants him, it's that same problem. It's the salary cap hit. You've already got $24 million on the books. And then you've got Xavier Howard, who has one of the most expensive contracts for a corner. When he signed it, it was the top one. So that makes it harder to actually work in and fit him without further gutting the Texans. So the Dolphins trade makes more sense. Even then, they still don't really have enough compensation. They don't have enough assets, in my opinion, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, the only team that has the assets right now is the New York Jets. The Jets can.
Washington to me.
Washington?
Washington's got the assets, I would think.
I mean, they have the players.
Too.
But they don't have the picks. They pick too high.
They don't have the draft picks. They pick too high.
Yeah, they're higher than
they don't. You have,
we wouldn't be getting as many. I don't think picks if we were to trade with them. But they have. I saw a package with Chase Young in it, and it was like 2 first rounders. I mean,
yeah, but those 2 first rounders are like number 11 and 12.
We've lived that life. Yeah,
right.
Like we've had JJ Watt and no quarterback. Chase Young will not be JJ Watt, but it's the same problem. And that's ultimately how Caserio is going to be judged. So honestly, I forgot about this. The Chargers sending Justin Herbert over with some first-round picks. Like, that's intriguing. But
why would they do that when Justin's playing almost at the same level?
Because you get Deshaun, who Herbert is possibly going to be Deshaun in a couple of years, but he's not quite there yet. Whereas Deshaun is an absolute star. You bring him in over on the Chargers, and the Chargers have been struggling for attendance. They've been struggling for attention. So if you do Justin Herbert and 2 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, what the Chargers actually get is it puts them directly into playoff contention. Deshaun Watson on that team, as built, that team is absolutely a threat in the playoffs, as built. Like, it's a talented team. Whereas Herbert and 2 first-round picks over here, we get another quarterback on a rookie deal that has a lot of potential that succeeded under Pep Hamilton. We can see if we can continue to grow. And then we can also, start to reload with draft picks. So that one does make sense to me. And I don't know if that's serious, but it has been floated out there.
Man, if we got that to happen, I would be ecstatic because I love Justin Herbert, man. I was actually born in San Diego, so I'm a diehard Chargers fan, or I was until they moved. But if we got away with that, that would be a hell of a finesse from Caserio.
San Diego is my favorite city in the country, hands down. But I think I do think the only team that actually has the assets that would entice me enough to consider trading Deshaun Watson is the New York Jets. They can send you on draft night. They can send you 4 first-round picks, I believe, in the next 2 years. And then you can also get Quinnen Williams and Sam Darnold, who is a prospect I like a lot. I think with Pep Hamilton, which is one of those X-factor coaches that people kind of seem to sweep to the side with Sam Darnold and get a right guard. I think you have a chance at rebuilding in a much quicker pace than what you would with any of the other teams. I don't think the Jets are willing to give up what it would take to get Deshaun Watson. But ultimately, I think Quinnen would be great. He has a great agent in Nicole Lynn, who is probably fantastic to deal with. She's a good person too. Sam Darnold is a quarterback who has shown promise before just getting destroyed every single game. And then those 4 first-round picks. The Jets, even with Deshaun, the Jets roster is such a mess. I mean, such a mess that even next year, the Jets are probably going to go 4-12. So you're picking in the top 10 again with the Jets picks. I think that the Jets can send you a package where this Band-Aid, the Band-Aid is more of one of the, or I guess it'd be more like stitches where they eventually just like dissolve. I think it would dissolve a little bit quicker than any of the other packages from any other team. I just don't know if they'll be able to give.
If Deshaun's telling the truth and he wants to win, then there's no way he'd accept it, because what the New York Jets would have to do to get him over there, he would essentially be reliving this season every year for the next 3 years. And that's best case.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Okay.
Coaching staff, I think, man. I want to see what the coaching staff can do, because even if we kept him, I mean, who knows? Who knows? We have some solid pickups later in the draft, and to see what these guys can do. I mean, sounds like we're all pretty optimistic on the coaching staff. That could really be the X factor in going from 6-10 to 8-8 to whatever it might be, right? Really curious to see what these guys do, even particularly the offensive line, right? To see if Deshaun can, put his players in a position to get the stats, to get the opportunities. If he goes to the Jets don't even know what they have, because they have no quarterback that can put up a consistent offense, right? So they don't even know what they have on offense right now, because you know how it is when we had Brock, right? So
they have no offensive line either.
Yeah, they got nothing. So, but with a competent quarterback,
they have no skill players. They don't have. Name one skill player on the Jets that you would like to have on the Texans, like a running back, a tight end, or a receiver. Maybe Crowder. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a slot receiver.
You would probably discover somebody.
But if you put Deshaun on the Jets, he's got a worse surrounding cast than he even has here, and then they'll have no way of rebuilding. So it makes zero sense for him to actually go to the Jets.
Yeah, I don't want to do a trade that we do. I don't want to do any trade that we get a quarterback in return. That's all I know. I don't want a quarterback in return. I want a high draft pick so we can get our quarterback, right, with no habits or anything like that. I think it's harder to break those bad habits than to make your own habits out of the draft.
I mean, 2 years of a rookie deal for Sam gives you also the opportunity to, one, evaluate, and then two, you can also still take, with that number 2 pick, a quarterback if you want. And then all you're adding is more draft capital to, or basically you have a piece that you can trade, whether it be Sam, who you can resurrect and turn back around for another pick, or the young quarterback if Sam ends up turning it around. I think ultimately for me, that's the thing that I like about it. And on top of that, it's not even about getting Sam. Sam's like a throw-in. It's just about having a quarterback while the rookie learns or whatever it would be. But if you're getting 4 first-round picks and Quinnen Williams and Sam's thrown into the deal, I just don't see a reason to not like it.
No, you're right. You're actually, now that you
also depends on.
We're not going to compete anyways with the salary cap situation, so you might as well carry an extra one, right? And then hopefully you flip that thing, right? So it makes more sense actually.
And then you also don't know what the Texans draft board looks. They may look at next year's QB board and decide that they would rather go after one of the quarterbacks from next year. So with all that draft capital that they bring in, like if they don't have a pick that's high enough, which they will because they're going to be bad, they can also trade up and go get whoever they want next year. It's not the same as this year where they're trying to trade up and get Trevor Lawrence. I think that if the Jaguars do not have the first-round pick, if it's another team, that there was a very good chance that the Texans may have gone that direction. And I'm not even a big Trevor Lawrence fan. So.
Right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't think any team has enough to give me what I need or want to trade Deshaun Watson, which therefore just makes my statement even stronger. You're not going to be traded.
Right. So in the event that this showdown conversation goes down, right, and Deshaun or David, kind of wants to stick it through and see what happens, what is the first free agent we have to go to make him happy? Probably Fuller. Okay, so take Fuller out of the equation. Who's behind? What's the next move after Fuller?
Oh, no. Austin. The conversation also goes where we're not here to make you happy. We're here to supply you with a team. We're here to provide you with talent to win and a competent coaching staff to get us to where we want to go, which ultimately is a championship. So you're going to have to trust in us, and you're going to have to trust in our staff to be able to build that around you. If you have a perspective or anything that you'd like us to look into, we'll definitely do so. but making him happy, that all goes out the window if he decides that he's sticking around, in my opinion. But that's just, I'm a hardball guy.
Because you could argue, right, he's going to give it his all no matter what happens anyways, right?
That's what he says.
Right, that's what he says. That's what his reputation is. So I get you. You're right. But anyways, regardless, what would be the move from a talent perspective for each of you guys? What's the first move you guys would make if y'all were Nick?
I would sign Will Fuller.
Okay, besides
or franchise.
We know the chemistry there, but besides that, if we had $16 million in cap space right now, so
I'd sign Jadeveon Clowney for like $6.5 million.
Damn, forgot about that.
Oh, the center out of Green Bay, Lindley. Is that? I was going to say his name wrong, but yeah, the center out of Green Bay. I'd go after him. Get us an actually competent center. I think that might make Deshaun a little happier, but I kind of agree with James. Like, even more that I think about it, this year's going to be so bad that it's kind of like, Deshaun, just sit, dude. We're not spending money. We don't have any money. We're not drafting. We don't have any draft picks. Just sit. So next year we get higher draft capital, and then we have all those contracts off the books. Just sit, dude.
Yeah, and Daniel's point, if events fall in place and 4 stays in place, does Houston become a place free agents want to be and play with 4? To be honest with you, I don't buy this whole narrative that free agents don't want to play here. I think, sure, the top tiers of the world, you're going to have to pay a little bit more to get them. But outside of that, everybody else, they're going to go where the opportunity lies. They're going to go where the contract is. This isn't the NBA. This is a totally different thing. Where are snaps? What does it look like? And what's the contract? That's basically what it comes down to in the NFL. So, I don't see that like this is like nobody's ever going to sign here. Nah, the checks they say a little different, and it's different with the NFL because you're putting your fucking body on the line no matter what. So you cut the check, the guys are coming, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's always these rumors that guys turned them down, and usually those guys aren't even difference makers. Like, let's be honest, the one guy that went to the Eagles because he supposedly was warned away by Kareem Jackson not to go to Texas. He was cut 10 games into the year, so it doesn't matter. Like, the guys are going to go to where they think they're going to get paid and where they're going to get an opportunity to make more money.
Yeah, and to be clear, also, like my stance on Deshaun, that's me coming from Nick Caserio's perspective. I want what's best for Deshaun at this point, and I think what's best is moving on. I don't think that what's best for Deshaun is staying here, so I would prefer for Deshaun to be traded. But if I was Nick Caserio, that's how I would approach the table with David and Deshaun, just so everybody's clear. I don't want everybody to think that I'm over here trying to not be on Deshaun's side. I think Deshaun has every reason to be upset. But if I was in the business of keeping a player, that's what I would do.
It's probably a dumb question, guys, but I know, are cash considerations possible for a trade like Deshaun to avoid not let the dead cap hurt us? Is that even possible?
From what I've read, no. But I could be wrong. I'm not the expert. Send at Texans Cap. He's the salary cap expert for Texans Twitter. He'll know. But my understanding from what I've read from his responses is that we're stuck with that cap hit. Like, there's nothing that can be done.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I think it's a good question. If Watson stays, can we be contenders in the next 2 years? I think it depends on what like I don't think staying is enough. I think he needs to buy in. I think he needs to understand the plan. I think he needs to be fully submerged in the next 4 years and understand that the next 4 years, no matter what you do or say or do whatever David leaks, you are a Houston Texan. So we can either make the most out of it, or you can just, you can come in and do whatever you say you're going to do. But I do think that with Deshaun, and after this year, I do think the team can build, and I think Nick's the right guy to build. I do think that he has the potential to be a very good GM in this business. But ultimately it just comes around to 4. So yes, I do think in 2 years I don't know about contenders. Contenders is, in my mind, a contender is a Super Bowl contender. I don't know if they can be Super Bowl contenders, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the playoffs and shocked some teams. You can do that when you have 4 under center.
Well, I'm going to actually make James happy with this answer. If Deshaun Watson really has that Mamba mentality that he said that he was learning, then he can come in this year and we're going to be a playoff contender. Like, as bad as the Texans are, when you have Deshaun and if he's playing motivated at a high level and he's really playing with that fuck you mentality that Kobe always had, because remember when Kobe wanted to be traded, that's when he played his best ball. So if Deshaun really has it now, yeah, with an easier schedule this year, we're playoff contenders. Still, even as bad as this roster is, because our schedule is that much easier. And we have all those holes everywhere. So 2 years from now, with an actual adult running the team and bringing in actual players, then yeah, definitely.
Well, it'd be nice to see the whole team play with that sense of grunginess that we hope Deshaun can play with next season, right? Whereas you just a fucking enthralled, pissed off Deshaun, right? Because the energy we had, the energy we had after we got rid of Bill O'Brien, man, you could see it through the entire team. So who knows? There's so many X factors. I think we don't even know what's going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah.
But the attitude, with the attitude and the body language and the X's and O's, I mean, we have no idea. Lonnie Johnson could be a stud next year. Who knows?
Lonnie has it in him to be a stud.
Yeah.
I think he'll have a very good year. But I mean, yeah, there's moves to be made on the defense to where you can turn it around rather quickly. If Gary Conley is healthy and that nerve issue in his ankle is done and he's back to playing at the level he was playing at before, then you have your other corner. If you can get a pass rusher with the money you freed up from JJ, well, then you have another pass rusher and you can let, Jacob and the pass rusher, and then you got to sign a defensive tackle because we just don't have one. So defensive tackle is like 1-2 for me in free agency or the draft. But I mean, you definitely can. There's moves to be made. Everybody's going to be dealing with the cap issue, so it's not going to be just us. But I mean, you can do it. This coaching, like David Culley, I don't know. We just got to see what this roster looks like before we can have an understanding of what potentially could happen.
Yeah, we have no idea what the scheme's going to be at all, right? We haven't heard anything yet. Just 3-4 versus 4-3, even basic stuff like that.
Yeah, it'll be
it's just guessing based on what Lovey's done in the past. It's going to be a 4-3 Tampa 2 variation because that's all he's ever coached, every stop that he's ever had. So that's the assumption. And part of why you can let Watt go is you can actually not try and do bastardize that. You can actually commit to something, because that was one of the things with Watt is you didn't play traditional defenses to allow Watt to be Watt. So we'll see.
Yeah, Corey, look, you're sending the farm, buddy. Not sure what you guys are doing up there in New York. I'm not sure if you got lost in the Bronx and are in an alley with somebody in a crack pipe next to you, but you're sending the farm if you want Deshaun Watson. That's all there is to it.
And that would be fair. That is
correct.
Fair. You send the whole farm. At that point, it might be fair.
Yep. Yeah. So put the pipe down, buddy, because get prepared to send the farm and the crop. Okay, it's not just the farm. Crop as well. So
couldn't you argue
and probably the farmer's daughter.
Couldn't you argue the Giants have a good shot at trading for Deshaun too?
The Giants. See, that's what I'm saying. There's teams that people aren't thinking about that have an opportunity. But ultimately, the only teams that the Texans are going to deal with are teams with high picks. Or low picks. I always get confused with draft.
Right.
Low, I guess, technically, because the number's lower, but higher, technically. But yeah, it's all going to be dependent on, who can send multiple top 5 picks over the next 2 years. That's what it's going to come down to. Yeah. All right. We're going to end it there. Austin, thank you. Thank you for coming on. It was nice having you on.
Likewise, guys. I enjoyed it. Thank you guys for bringing me on.
Yeah. Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, Zero to X Given's my handle for both Instagram and for Twitter. And my name's Austin Tucker if you want to catch me on Facebook. So I'll see you guys around. Appreciate you guys having me on, man.
Man, we appreciate the drip around your neck, my guy. We appreciate the drip around your neck. I like it. All right. John, thanks for letting me host tonight. I'll be back in a month, guys. We'll ease back into this, and then we're going back to the old days of just me and John being fans and just breaking down the game, letting you guys know kind of what we're seeing and what we like. Really appreciate you guys supporting me. I look forward to talking to you guys soon. And with that being said, I'm YoungAriGold signing off for Texans Unfiltered. We'll catch you guys next week.